I have this friend. Let's call him Tom. Now, I haven't seen Tom in a few years, but we used to hang out a lot. And I would get these calls from Tom to the effect of, Jaimie, I'm trying to do this crazy project. Can you help me do it? And these were the best calls because it always meant something exciting was going to happen. So one day, I was in this place where I was living, and I got the the Tom call. It was like the bat phone was going off. It was so exciting when Tom called. And he called me and said, Jaimie, in this really serious tone, Jaimie, I'm in trouble. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, I said I could do this thing, and I have 2 weeks to do it, and they've already given me the money to do it, and I don't know if it's possible. And I was like, okay, when do you need me to be where? And he's like, well, and I'm like, come on, dude, seriously. He's like, okay. I'm in Socrates Sculpture Park in Queens, New York, and as soon as possible. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there early tomorrow morning. He's like, early in the morning? You're like hours away. I was like, I'm going to leave at 3 a.m. I'll get there at like 6 or 7. He's like, okay. I was like, all right, let me know what's up when I get there. Okay, bye. I'm so excited. I could barely sleep that night. So I got a bit of sleep, ate some food, woke up at like 2 a.m. just excited like it was Christmas morning. I jump in my truck, start heading to New York. New York is not my favorite place, but this is a special event. You know, it's crowded, but I was going to a park to help my friend do a thing. So I got there at about 6 a.m. And my friend's at the park. He's like, wow, you got here early. Sun's just coming up. I'm like, yeah, man. All right, what's the project? What do we got going on? And he's like, okay, I want to do, at least I've claimed that I can do this. I want to do a casting of the shoreline of the Hudson River. And it's like 20 feet wide by 30 feet long and fiberglass. And there's this barge that shipwrecked there. It's been there for a long time. It's all decrepit and it's got all this wood stuff sticking up. There's all this framework and stuff. And I want to put the fiberglass over it and swoop it down between the beams and make these big swoops and this complicated shape that goes all over the stuff. And then I want this giant fiberglass thing to get picked up and flipped over into the park. And he's like, I don't know if this is even possible. And I was like, all right, let's go check it out. So we go over to the spot where he wants to do this. And sure enough, there's like the old ruins of a big barge there along the shoreline. And he's got a tank of resin for the fiberglass. And anyone who doesn't know how fiberglass works, it's basically like paper mache. You have fiberglass cloth that gets soaked with polyester resin, and then it hardens into this really durable, flexible stuff. Now the resin is super sticky. It's like the consistency of honey, but it does not wash off with water. It's actually kind of really hard to get it off. And it's corrosive. So when you get it on yourself, you know it. Anyway, he's already got a big drum of this resin, and he's got a bunch of rolls of fiberglass there, and tools and stuff, and he's got basically everything ready to go. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just start going. So the first thing we do is he put some kind of release agent over anything where the fiberglass was going to touch, so we'd be able to get it back off at the end. But it was kind of complicated shapes, and the release agent is not 100% perfect. So basically, we put fiberglass on all the parts where it was going to touch, and then went in there and started prying it off. And it did not come off easily. And it was ripping up chunks of wood and stuff, and we're prying it with pry bars and ripping the fiberglass. And it was okay. This was just an old barge that was sitting there. We could destroy it. It didn't matter. We could rip off chunks of wood. It was fine. But this was really grueling work trying to get this fiberglass separated from the thing. But we were getting it. Now, this whole time we're working on this, we've got masks on, and it's hot. It's the middle of the summer. Uh, we kept going back and forth between wearing long sleeves so this fiberglass wouldn't stick to us, but then getting too hot, then taking off the long sleeves, then getting fiberglass on our arms. Working with fiberglass it's horrible. But in addition to this, my friend's parents were visiting, and his girlfriend needed help with something, and he had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, like a lot of stuff he had to deal with that weekend. I got there on a Saturday. I think it was a Saturday. Anyway, he was like, I have so much stuff to do this weekend, but I have to do this. And I was like, okay, dude, just go meet your parents, show them around, do whatever you need to do with them, go take care of whatever you need to take care of, and come back in 2 days. He's like, 2 days? I was like, yeah, this stuff's gonna take you 2 days, right? He's like, okay, yeah, it's gonna take me 2 days. I was like, just go, just don't worry about anything. And we'd worked together enough that he trusted me. He trusted me to take his vision, not change it or anything, just make it happen. And that's why we worked so well together on these projects, because he had these crazy visions. I didn't really get them, honestly. I was just like, okay, I don't know why you want to do this, but to me, it's just this amazing engineering problem to figure out how to make this happen. So I wouldn't change anything he wanted to do. I would just figure out how to make it happen. So he trusted me with this. And he goes off, meets his parents, does whatever he needs to do with them, because they were visiting from pretty far away. So for the next 2 days, I started putting the fiberglass along all the places it needed to touch, and then I was draping the fiberglass between these big wood beams, and these drapes were like 12 feet tall and like 6-8 feet wide in some places. And it was just this big blobby shapes, this really complex shape, and it was 20 feet by 30 feet. It's like 10 meters by 8 meters or whatever. But if you actually stretched it out to be flat, it would have been like 3 times that size. But I was getting all the shapes in there and everything, just putting the first layer in, getting all the complicated stuff done. So I spent 2 days doing that, just working on that, sleeping a little bit, eating, and 2 days later, he comes back to the park, and he just looks refreshed. He's clean, he's showered, he had a haircut, he's smiling. He's like, oh man, thanks so much for just giving me that time, because I got so many things taken care of, and now I don't have to do anything else. I can just focus on this for the next week and a half. So how are we? Whoa! And he looks, because we were walking up to it, and we get up to where he could see where it was, and he looks and he's like, whoa, you did the whole thing. How did you make this happen? And I'm like, whoa, it's not done. I just got the first layer on. That was the most complicated layer, but we still have a lot of work to do, because now we actually have to stand on top of the thing and climb and all this stuff to get more layers in there, to make it strong enough that we can actually pick the thing up and it'll have, keep its form and everything. Like, we need to put a lot more fiberglass on this, so don't get too excited. But he's like, okay, but it's like we just have to lay fiberglass. He was so excited. Anyway, for the next week or so, I lost track of time. We basically woke up every morning and we slept in the park, just either in a trailer, like a shipping container that was in the park, or we just slept out in the park. And technically, we weren't really supposed to sleep there, but the park was closed and the gate was shut, and as long as we just kind of kept quiet, it was okay. So we'd wake up in the morning, and we'd saunter down the street to this diner. It was like 100 meters down the street. And we go in there and eat a giant breakfast, like the kind of breakfast that makes you want to puke, because we knew we'd be having a long day. And then we'd walk back to the park, just relax and chilled out, and then we would get to work. We would get on our dirty clothes and our mask and our gloves. The gloves ended up just getting shredded. A lot of this we just did with bare hands, and it was gross, and we had fiberglass on ourselves. And we'd be, just working with fiberglass is kind of horrible. And working on a huge thing, you inevitably get it in your hair and on your arms and in your clothes and just everywhere. This corrosive, sticky stuff. At one point, I mean, there were some funny things happening too. Like at one point, my friend Tom, he's at one spot and he said, "Okay, I'm done this part. I'm gonna go down now." And I just hear this crash and this splash, and he falls into the East River. And I was just laughing. I was like, "I didn't know you meant all the way down to the river." And he's laughing. He's like, "I tore my arm on a nail. It's terrible." But we were just laughing, and he was bleeding everywhere. And, you know, it was the kind of situation where we were just in such hell that it was to the point where it was funny. And we didn't really stop for lunch, maybe have a quick snack and drink some water. We just keep going because we were just covered in this filth. So we get to the end of the day, just exhausted and feeling gross. And we'd kind of hobble across the park to where there was a hose. And we had a scrub brush, like a wire brush. And we'd use the wire brush to scrub our arms and you know, anywhere that the stuff got on us, and just scrub it off. And we debate what's worse, having this horrible, gross, corrosive substance on our skin or getting scrubbed with a wire brush. But we ended up just going with the wire brush to get ourselves clean. So we'd spend like half an hour doing that, and then shower in the hose. And, you know, our filthy, just gluey clothes that were sticky, we'd just kind of hang them up somewhere because we were just going to put them back on the next morning. And then we kind of hobble down the street, back to the diner. I'll take a burger and a fries, the big one, and 2 milkshakes, and he'll have the same thing. Thank you. Don't mind us. We're just going to pass out on the table till the food gets here. I swear we're not drunk. We're just tired from working hard. And the waitress would come back with the food and like knock on the table. "Here you go, guys. Wake up. You guys must really be working hard." And we're like, "Yeah." Oh, and we just wolf down all this food, and then we get to the milkshakes and be like, "Oh, milkshakes, the only thing that's felt good all day. Oh, milkshakes." And the milkshakes were what kept us going. Maybe not the only thing that kept us going. I also met a girl who was doing a project at the park during this whole ordeal. I mean, we both met this girl, but my friend had a girlfriend, and I didn't have a girlfriend. So, you know, I met this girl a little more than he met this girl. Anyway, it was quite nice having the company of a beautiful lady while slogging through hell. So, finally, we get enough layers of fiberglass on this thing that we're pretty confident it is super strong at this point. We didn't really know. We didn't have any fiberglass experience before this. But we were like, okay, I think it's done. We're out of fiberglass anyway. And we'd gone through a lot of fiberglass. So for the last time, we waddled across the park, started waddling, and then started jogging, and then we just started sprinting just to get away from that horrible scene, to get back and scrub the stuff off for the last time. It was so exciting to get clean again and shower in the hose. It was freezing cold, but it was so nice because we'd been out in the hot summer. It was summer and it was so hot, and we'd been wearing all this protective clothing and these masks that were just hot and sweaty. We took our masks off for the last time. Oh, just clean and cold. And I probably sat there for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, you know, standing behind the trailer where no one could really see, and just spraying myself with the hose. And then you turn it, I didn't want to waste water, so I turn it off between. But then a few minutes later, just spray myself with the hose again. Stick my head out. Hey dude, spray him with the hose. You'd be like, oh, just get me. Anyway, it was so nice. And then we went to have our burger and fries and our milkshakes, and it was so nice to be done. And the girl came with us that time, and we ate together. So relaxing. But we were not done. Just done the worst part. The next day we got up in the park, so excited that we didn't have to do fiberglass. But that was the day the crane was coming. Because there was one day that a crane was coming to the park. and the crane would be available to help anyone with whatever project they had who needed to have something lifted and moved or whatever. It was crane day because there were a bunch of other people doing projects in the park at the same time. They really loved the smell of the fiberglass. Anyway, so we got in there and went over to the fiberglass thing, which was now fully cured and strong and done, and we started prying it off where it was attached. Because at the beginning, we'd put release agent and put the first layer of stuff and pried that off and then put everything over. But you know, resin leaks through and glued the thing back down. It was pretty stuck. So we get in there, we're kicking and punching and using crowbars and hammers and just trying to get this huge thing, this big complex shape, separated from this abandoned old ruined barge, and where it was attached to a piece of the some rock, and it was pulling up rocks, which my friend wanted. He wanted it to pull up some stuff as we were going. And then the crane came over, and the crane was ready for us. So we were like, okay, I mean, just got to go. It's not totally separated, but okay. So the crane guy comes over, puts down the crane feet, sticks them down, sticks out his big crane thing, lowers the big hook, and we'd made some like big fiberglass loopy things that we could attach straps to. So we got big straps attached to that in 4 or 6 different spots up to the big hook. And my friend goes over to the crane guy, and there's like 100 people there watching. And my friend's like, okay, lift it up, but go slow because it might not be totally separated. So he starts lifting, and it kind of starts peeling off, and it's like pop, pop, where parts were like kind of ripping off. And then the whole crane starts leaning forward, and the guy's like, whoa! And Tom's like, whoa! And so the guy backs off a little bit, but we go over and we're like, okay, just keep some tension on there, a couple tons of pulling force. I'm gonna go under there, and my friend's gonna go under there, and we're gonna try to kick the last parts loose and pry it off. So we go in there with our crowbars, and we're under it, so we're pretty safe because it's gonna pop up. And we're kind of kicking and punching and prying this big thing off, and going around and just finding any spot that is attached, or if it's it had this one big beam, this big piece of wood stuck in it, and it was stuck so much it wasn't coming off. So I just separated it from where it was attached below, so it would just go off with the thing. And then suddenly, boom! This big like pop, and the whole thing just popped off finally, and then it was in the air. So we get out of there, and my friend goes over to the crane guy. He's like, yeah, lift it up, and he's doing the hand motions and stuff. And the crane guy's lifting it up, and my friend's like directing him to move it over to the position it's going to go. And then a couple of the straps break. And the whole thing tips, and like half of it lands on the ground, and it's being suspended by one side. And like all these people are yelling, oh no, go back! Whoa! And my friend is like, oh! And like the crane operator's like, okay, like 40 people are yelling at me. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, all right, my friend, he called me to come here to make sure this thing happened. So I stormed out there in front of the crane guy where no one else was standing, and I waved my hands, and I'm like, look over here. And I'm like, doing the finger thing, like, look at my eyes, okay. And he looks at me, and I start giving him the hand motions of what to do. Because what had happened is the whole thing was in the air, and the spot where the straps broke and it fell down, we needed that side to go down, and the side where the straps were still attached, we needed that to go up because the whole thing needed to get flipped over. So we couldn't have actually planned it better if we tried to do this. So I'm telling him, just keep lifting up a little bit, drag it over, and the whole thing tipped over, and he lowered it down, and it was just this huge fiberglass translucent thing. And now when we'd made it, it had all these swoops down, right? Because it swooped down between all the beams and stuff. And once it was upside down on the ground, all the swoops went the other way. and they made all these tunnels. And there were several of these tunnels. It was almost like a maze going through there. I mean, it wasn't like a maze like you would get lost in, but you could go through a tunnel and it would curve and go around and kind of connect to another tunnel, and you'd come out the other side. And it was really cool. When it got flipped over, it just became this totally different thing, like this really amazing tunnel building. It was really cool. And then the day after that, everyone was kind of doing their presentations. Like the day before the park was going to open, fancy bigwigs came to the park to hear about everyone's projects. And my friend, when it came to his turn, he's a very good speaker, very funny guy. He did a great job. He's telling about how all this stuff happened, and when we, got this thing built, and it was great, and then the crane thing, and stuff broke, and, he's explaining all the theory about why he wanted to build this thing, and who influenced him, and all this really elaborate stuff. It was really great. And at the end, he's like, and, the park just gave us these bonuses for finishing the projects, because they got, I don't remember, they got some extra money at the end for finishing the projects, because I guess the park had extra money left over. I don't know. He got a bonus, and he said, and I'm giving it to my friend Jaimie here because he showed up here, and without him this project wouldn't have happened. And I was like, wow, dude, I mean, yeah, thanks so much, but keep the money, that's yours. And he's like, no, dude, I call you on these projects and you come, and you never, I don't pay you on anything. You just come and we have an amazing time. And you drove here on your own gas, and this is like 2 weeks, you're not doing other things. And right now I have a chance to give you the money, so just shut up and take it. So I'm like, wow, okay, thanks. So I got paid for it too, which was an unexpected cool surprise. And I didn't really understand all of the reasons why he wanted to build this crazy weird thing, but to me it was just this really neat engineering thing, and it made this really amazing building, and it was just a very cool object. And then the park opened, and people would come into the park and look at all the exhibits, and anytime people got to this thing, this big tunnel thing, they would walk through it, they'd look through it. It looked almost like ice, because it was just translucent fiberglass, no color added or anything. The light would come through, and it became known as the ice caves. And kids would come in there and run through the ice caves and climb up them, and it was just this amazing playground thing, and people would walk through and look at the light coming through, and it was just a really, really awesome project. And my friend had a lot of personal reasons for why he wanted to build it, and I didn't really get them, and a lot of other people didn't understand what they were, or even they weren't even aware that there were all these personal reasons. But I don't think it really mattered, because people loved it.